Hey,
Well, hello.
welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Tara,
I'm Natalie.
and we are making a movie. And this is a podcast about us making our very first movie. If you are
Oh,
tuning into us for the first time, the feature film that we are making is called Turns Out. And we are currently in the very early stages of this. So you are following along on this podcast with the real time adventures of Natalie and Tara.
adventures. I don't know.
Yeah.
Adventures makes it sound much more exciting, I
Oh,
think.
it's exciting. It's an adventure. It doesn't make it sound like it could go as terribly wrong as it could.
All right. No, you're right. Because of misadventures is what it probably should be called.
Shoot. Before we get rolling, I just want to mention that any super chats or PayPals that happen here on the live stream or also offside on our PayPal, all are going to go to Fund Turns Out. So if you are giving us some cashola, any amount, all of that is going directly to all the different components of making a movie. Right now, we are submitting the script to film festivals for script competitions.
I just did another one.
Did you?
I did.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's exciting. And that we're doing that part right now to get some momentum going to show that we are a winner, and that because we are a winner with laurels, we are worth giving us your monies in this development part, which is currently where we're at. Today we have got an interview episode. I love interview episodes. I feel like in the interview episodes we learn the most, and so we're
Heck yeah.
always so excited to bring people on and pick their brains. Today we're going to be interviewing Jenny Waldo. So where we're at in the process, like I said, is the development process, and we're wanting to talk to people who have made a movie, but not too many movies. Just enough movies that the information that they have to tell us is still kind of pertinent to where we're at. As I feel genuinely, once you've made like 10 feature films, you're probably dealing with like $1 million budgets and might not really know the problems I'm facing.
I saw this cute little interview, just clip from, it was Zendaya and Tom Holland. Is that the right Tom? I never remember which Tom is which.
I think that sounds
Spider-Man.
Okay.
And she was making fun of him for he's been in big movies for so long that he doesn't understand like what an indie budget is. And he was
Oh,
joking about, she was telling the story of him going, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could do like Spider-Man for an indie budget of like, 200 for 20 million. And she was like, "Oh, honey, you have no idea
oh,
what."
my
And like,
love,
and he
my
was so
light.
embarrassed.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but
so that's the point of like talking to
that
people who
really
are
does
in a
highlight this.
similar situation with you, who have gone through, who have recently been where you are, so they can tell you those exact steps they took. Now, that doesn't mean that you can take those exact steps, but Spielberg, when it broke for him, he can tell us all those things, but honestly, stealing a mechanical shark is not going to be what gets us where we're going.
Yeah. Yeah, like those people that have gone so far, the Tom Hollands, they do have useful stories to come part, and it's very
Yes.
inspiring. But right now, who we want to talk to are the indie filmmakers who are just a little bit ahead of us. So today we're going to be talking to Jenny Waldo, and Jenny Waldo is actually going to be the first person we've interviewed on the podcast that we don't know personally. So that's kind of exciting. That's Natalie and I's other jam that we do together. Our other side hustles. We go to film festivals and we do interviews on the red carpet. And we love to do it from the perspective of, we don't know you, so tell us everything about you. We're so ready to hear and be fascinated by your life. So
We don't know you, and we don't necessarily know your film yet. Tell us.
Yeah,
And like, so
tell
it's
us
this chat that's,
everything. Yeah,
I
and
just
so
find it so much more amusing.
oh my God, and we intentionally keep ourselves a little bit blind so that we can learn and help and give you guys the most information too, because we're all learning together. Jenny actually comes to us from Tom Vaughn. If you did not listen to the Tom Vaughn episode about screenwriting, that was such a good one. definitely go back into the catalog. I think that was like episode number 5 or something. Go listen to Tom Vaughn's episode. Tom Vaughn knows Jenny Waldo from the Houston film scene. There is a Houston film scene, a Texas film scene. So you
Yeah, there
filmmakers
is.
out there
Hmm.
in Texas, find your filmmaker friends, because this is the community. There's a great film community out there making stuff happen and doing more and more every day. He was introduced to her, I think, via Swamp, and the Houston Film Commission, both things that do exist. So Swamp is the Southwest Alternative Media Project, which is
Oh,
yeah, it's a group. Jenny probably can touch on this better when she comes on, but it's a media supporter. They gave Linklater his first grant to get his movie made, and it actually
oh,
predates Sundance. So it's a long stretching media involved facet of Texas, that if so Texas filmmakers, hey, there are things out there for you to reach out to, including Jenny Waldo. Jenny Waldo is an educator herself. And I'm gonna bring her in the room now. I'm gonna welcome her to the stage, and she's gonna tell you all about herself. Jenny, here we go. Jenny Waldo, welcome to We're Making a Movie.
Thank you, and congrats on making a movie.
ah,
We
thank
haven't done it
you.
I mean,
yet.
you're on the way, you know?
We're on
So,
the way. We made a lot of shorts. We've done some stuff. Jenny, tell the good people all about yourself, where you come from, how you got in film, all that, your credentials, what you're doing now, all that jazz.
awesome. Well, I am originally from Washington, D.C., and I grew up as a dancer and a photographer, and I really didn't kind of know what I wanted to do for a career at all. And so I went to a liberal arts college called Oberlin, which is not very many people have heard of it, but it's amazing. And I ended up kind of defaulting to being an English major because their dance department and I didn't really see eye to eye on dance. And the this actually they now have a film program that actually came out of the English department, but I was a few years before that, and I had those teachers who were kind of including film as part of the English curriculum, and I just never really thought about movies as a text to read, to analyze, to think about, and it included like film theory and just different things. It was like this light bulb moment where I was like, wait a minute, people make movies and I love movies, and I had had an interesting education in movies growing up because my dad is from Florida and loves like big sci-fi action movies. So I saw all the Star Treks and Star Wars and anything anything that blew up and was popcorn movies.
Yeah.
And my mother is from the Czech Republic, and she loved all the 60s like new wave foreign films, from Italy
Oh.
and Czechoslovakia and
Oh,
France and just all this stuff. So I
yeah.
just and if you've ever seen any of those films, it's like half the Italian new wave films have like pantomimes in it and, and all this. I mean, it's just like
What? Oh my
bizarre
gosh.
artistic stuff, and
Love
I was
it.
like, oh, this is so cool, and so I loved kind of both sides of things, this kind of very artistic, burgeoning, like I have to tell a story, and I loved the big Hollywood thing, and I love especially when those two things come together beautifully,
Yeah.
and so like I said, it was like this light bulb moment. I flew to LA my senior year in college and did an internship on the Paramount lot and was like,
Oh,
I'm never
cool.
leaving. Like, this is where I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be.
That's
Like,
cool.
it was so cool. And then I graduated and was like, well, what do I do now? And LA felt far from, I mean, it's like literally on the opposite coast, DC. And
Yeah.
even though I had been there for this internship, like, it like the people that I had been interning under, like it was kind of pre social media, pre like the internet stalking stuff. And so like it was so much
Mm-hmm.
harder to like be in touch with people.
Mm-hmm.
And when the assistants rolled over to other jobs, like I couldn't get through that gatekeeper to the executive, that I
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
had been interning under. And so I just kind of didn't really know what to do. And so DC has a large film scene, but it's more for documentary, educational,
Yeah.
government,
Okay. Yeah, that makes
stuff.
sense.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go home and like get like figure this out and like get my feet wet. And so I got my start in documentary, and I worked for some different production companies that did projects for the Discovery Channel and PBS and all this stuff. And it was a great education. I There was actually a company there that was also trying to do feature films in addition to like their corporate stuff. And two of the producer directors that I worked under had both gone to USC and had ended up kind of in DC making their career, but just not doing fictional films. And so I was, it kind of opened up this idea of like, one, as much as I love and respect documentary and still have worked in it and teach it, it was not my passion. Like my passion
Right.
was, blockbuster meets pantomimes, and so I I was like and two, I needed to get out of DC. I was like I cannot stay here. And so I applied to film school to like get out. And I ended up getting into USC's graduate film program for film production. And so I moved to LA, again, never wanting to leave. and, and I went through the 3-year MFA program, which was amazing and everything that I needed. And I also still ended up continuing to work in documentary, which was interesting. But I also then got to kind of scratch that itch for the scripted,
Yeah.
fictional projects that I wanted to do. And I worked in the development side of the industry as well, reading a ton of
Nice.
scripts and writing coverage and all that stuff. And then I got married, and my husband got a job in oil and gas, and that took us out of LA, and which was very hard. But I was also pregnant at the time and was kind of like, well, I can't be pregnant and alone in LA trying to like figure out this industry,
Write that
So
movie.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we moved to New Orleans, and then a year later
Ooh.
Katrina came through, and that is how we ended up in
Oh,
Houston.
that's how you ended up in Houston?
That
That is
roller
how we
coaster
ended
of
up in
ooh
Houston.
to
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
Oh,
wow.
oh my
So it
goodness.
was
Yeah.
kind of crazy, and I, I mean, I know you're from Houston, Tara, but
Yeah.
I honestly hated Houston for the first
No,
couple of
it's
years that I
okay.
was
I
here.
get
It
it.
like took a long time,
Yeah.
and
It's a tough city to
I,
get to
yeah,
know. Yeah.
it's so big.
Yeah.
And I got involved in the film community immediately. So you mentioned Swamp, the
Perfect. Yeah.
Southwest Alternate Media Project, started meeting people, started, working on other projects. And I felt like, I had this, training and this kind of LA industry professional experience. So I like had something to offer that people not as many people had here. And so it was I really was just trying to figure things out, and I just started working with other filmmakers and trying to help them, as a producer producing
Mm-hmm.
their projects and trying to help them working. I was program coordinator for Swamp for a couple of years, so I kind of brought workshops in and developed
Okay.
programming, and we had some grants that we gave to some filmmakers. And along the way, I was kind of like, okay, well, I also want to make my own films, and how do I do that? And I was one of the short films that I had. It was actually 10 years ago. I actually just posted about this recently because I didn't realize it. Like 10 years ago, a short that I had produced was at the Short Film Corner at the Cannes Film Festival, and
Oh,
so
Cool.
we went. I was like, I don't care if we're not in competition. I was like, we're, a film I worked on is
Yeah.
screening is
yeah.
in the
Oh, yeah.
vicinity of Cannes. I am
Yes.
going,
You go. Yeah.
Oh, you go. You go.
and it was life changing just sitting there. I'd never been to a premiere festival, a top tier festival. I'd never been to
Mhm.
Sundance before, or South by, or any of the others, and so I was just sitting there in awe and inspired by all these risks and the kind of blood in the water of
Mhm.
people making films. And I was like,
Mhm.
I need to get back to my own work. And so
Okay.
that was where I was like, I'm going to, the gold star is always like, oh, who's going to make a feature? Like, when am I going to make a feature film? Like every
Yeah.
filmmaker,
Yeah.
you guys are going through it
Mhm.
right now. And I had helped one of my friends make her first feature. I had worked on a feature documentary, and I had done a bunch of shorts, but I had never done my own feature. So I was kind of like, I am going to make a short that I think can also be a feature film, or be adapted, and I'm
Right.
gonna do that. And so that was where my film Acid Test was born. I was walking home from a screening with my director and my co-producer, and I was like, I've got this crazy story from when I was a crazy teenager in DC where I dropped acid at a concert and then went home. And if you don't know, acid takes about 8 hours. So, like, you're at the concert for a few hours. You still have
Oh
like
no.
several hours to go. And I went home to my parents and didn't know what to do. So I told them I was tripping, and they completely flipped out on me. And I was like, I think it'd make a good short film. And I have other
Oh.
crazy stories of being a really crazy teenager in DC that I think could make a feature. And my co-producer was like, you know what, I have a story like that too. And the more people I told, they were like, oh my god, I like did something similar, except I didn't tell my parents, or just like everybody
Yeah.
had some kind of crazy teenage story. And it just kind of built from there. And so I came home, wrote the short film script, we shot it. It took a little while. So if that was 10 years ago, yeah, we shot it in 20 no we shot it pretty quickly. We shot it in January 2016, so that was 2015. We
Okay.
shot it because Canada's in May. So yeah, we shot it January 2016, and then it took us a while
Wow.
to edit it. It took us a
Mhm.
year
Mhm.
basically.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
so we premiered in festivals 2017 and did kind of the festival run for a couple of years. And then while I was in the festival run, I had uh the I had like a bad draft of the feature film and was like,
Oh.
I need to at least be able to say I have a
Oh.
draft, you know?
Right.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and I went to these festivals thinking, oh, people are going to love the short film and they're going to give me $1 million and I'm going to make the feature and it'll be great, you know? And that did not happen, you know? And so, but I met people along the way who were like, yeah, I totally want to see this feature film. And, so my network grew,
Mhm.
having a film in a festival to show off, what I could do and everything. And so it just kind of grew from there. And we, ended up, we can obviously dive into it, but we made the feature film. COVID hit right during post production. So
Jeez.
that was like, what? What
Yeah.
am I supposed to do now? But
Everything
we
gets
got it
derailed.
done,
Yeah.
and then we premiered it at Austin Film Festival when
Oh,
festivals came
nice.
back on,
Yeah.
in person, and had a good run for a year. Got distribution with
Wow.
a kind of boutique distribution agency. We actually have international distribution too, which is pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
And then so now I'm working on my second feature film, which is a much bigger feature film, and we're starting kind of an active fundraising. The script has already been doing well. It was like a Nicholl quarterfinalist, and like we workshopped it in some labs. And I also have a short film in the festival circuit right now, which is kind of a stretch project because it's a genre film. It's a horror, like thriller film,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
didn't write it, so I'm usually a writer director. So
Okay.
this short film was funded by a grant, so it was like I was like, look, if we get money to do this, I'll do it.
Then you do it.
Yeah.
And
You
yeah,
do it.
so it was
Yeah.
great. And then as you said, I teach. I'm a professor at Houston Community College. We've got this great workforce program, a very hands-on filmmaking program at this community college. And yeah, I don't know. I feel good about things.
The
I feel
train's
very
moving in the right direction, it
Yeah,
sounds like.
right. I just want to back up really quick, all the way back to Washington as a kid, and just you were dropping acid. You do not strike me as the person who would be dropping acid. Like you said that, I'm like, who is this woman?
And
This
it's
is
like,
amazing.
and the mentality of we all did it, and I'm like,
What?
I was not that kid.
I wasn't that brave. Oh my God, that's so fun. Like, I love that you took the like I got in trouble story too and like turned it into a short film. I love that.
So
no,
yeah, I have
it
a
was
question.
funny too as a mom, like
Yeah.
pitching
Oh.
it to people, like you're at the pool and people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. They're like, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm working on a film about a girl who drops acid and like rebels against her parents. And they're kind of like, okay. And then eventually people are like, is it based on a true story?
Yeah,
And
where
I'm
did
like,
this
yeah.
come from? Yeah.
Like, and they're all like, I don't know. So yeah,
So I did look it up a little bit, and you actually answered most of my questions about acid test already. Like, I wanted to know, was it conceptually, like, was the short film a proof of concept, which it was. But so the short film, it says that it's a comedy drama.
Comma drama. I like that.
Comma drama, yeah.
Comma drama.
And then, but it says the feature is a drama. Is it still more dramedy, or did like the mood change that much from one to the other?
I mean, in my mind, it is a comedy drama because I mean, I think it's hilarious, but I think that's also kind of a trauma response where you're like, oh, these horrible
Oh,
things happened.
Okay.
yeah.
And I think that sometimes people aren't exactly sure whether they're supposed to laugh or not, and that's okay. Like that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I definitely
I
get people who don't really
mhm.
know how to take it.
I
But
kind of I really like the genre of dramedy because one, that's just life, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
two, I enjoy finding the funny in every moment, but also like then it just gives people permission to have a moment and laugh and break that. Like you need that cathartic moment as well
Right.
while you're
Mm-hmm.
watching something that sometimes is heavy. So from that short to feature, what what was like the biggest difference for developing the short film and developing the feature besides time? Like what big thing, time and I guess money is the other
Money.
like giant
Yeah.
hurdle. Like what happened, what did you find that was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this coming into making a feature the first time?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think there were a couple of interesting learning points because I had I mean I had made a bunch of shorts, but I had always struggled as a shorts writer because I mostly write features, and so it's like I have big stories to tell and then trying to cram it into like
Oh.
10 minutes is hard for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the big kind of learning curves, just to touch on your point about this proof of concept, and this is something that I tell my students and anybody who will listen, is even if you're making a short to make a feature film, as I did, to like adapt, the short has to work as a short film.
It
And
should
that was
stand
the
alone.
biggest
Mm-hmm.
learning curve because the short, when we got, that's why it took us so long to edit it, because we had like a 19-minute short film and it was just
Mm-hmm.
like dragging, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is
Yeah.
supposed to be some crazy fun like acid trip thing and it's like boring, and we were struggling with it. And we had this woman who does film consulting, and she was like, you're pacing it like a feature film. And she was like, it really needs
Oh,
to live like a short film.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, you're
okay.
right. And it totally like unlocked how we could
Mm-hmm.
like dive into the edit and break it up, because I had written it linearly, and this kind of goes back to my documentary background, is I tend to write for all the coverage that I know, like all the stuff that I know we need to get. So I tend to write a little bit long,
Mhm.
knowing that I'm going to cut stuff out. It's just I want to make sure that we get it, kind of just in
Mm-hmm.
case. And but then I always expect, oh, we'll kind of chop it up. But then when we were editing it, we just couldn't figure out like how to break out of this very kind of linear narrative paced story. And so that really helped us get down to a 14-minute cut. And with the feature film, I think the biggest thing that I had wasn't expecting, as you said, was that with short films, I can hold the project in my mind. And so, we're normally like shooting out of
Yeah.
sequence, or like, where are we in the story? What does it need to be? And I'm a big prepper, so I've got all my storyboards, I've got my director's scripts, I've got all my homework done, I've got everything figured out, I've got a visual plan, I've got all this stuff. And the short film, yeah, and that all helps me so that, like, if we're in the moment and somebody asks me a question, I can like kind of flip through the Rolodex in my mind to be like, this is where we are, this is what we need. Yes, we can do that. I couldn't do
Mm.
that with the feature film. It was too big
Too
to
Wow.
much.
hold in my mind,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I relied so much more on all that prep work, because
Mhm.
somebody
Yeah.
would ask me a question and I'd be like, it's 3 in the morning. I don't even,
Yeah.
I don't even know what my name is right now. Like, and so I'd have
Wow.
to go back to my script or to my visual plan or and be like, this is what I said we should do. So this is what we're doing. Cause this Jenny, I don't know what's happening right now.
Present Jenny
But this
doesn't know.
Jenny, the one
Past
who
Jenny
planned
prepared.
everything,
Yeah.
figured it out, So like,
Yeah.
let's listen to
Yeah.
that,
As
unless there's
as
a
an
problem.
as an actor, that's kind of interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Like,
Yeah.
going into, I mean, I have filmed a feature, but that I've only filmed one feature, and in that it was the same thing. We were filming them, we most went linear. We didn't have to go that far out of order, and my
Mhm.
scenes were kind of compact, so we filmed all of one scene at a time, at least, which
Yeah.
that is that then you can go, okay, I'm just working on this scene at a time. But just thinking about the film that Tara and I wrote, like, we're going to be filming, probably this room the whole time through. We're going to do
Probably. Yeah.
everything that takes place in the
Everything
living
in the
room.
living
And that
room.
means the arc of our characters and maybe out of order, maybe in order, but like
Yeah.
going back and referencing, wait a minute, am I mad at you right now?
Where am I
What
right
just
now?
happened?
Yeah.
What level of angry am I at you? Like,
Yeah.
I almost want to go through our script with this and like put percentages in there. Like, let's put a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bar
That's a
graph of
great
like
idea.
where
How
we
angry
are.
I
And
am.
so, yeah, and we'll just put it
Yeah.
up on the wall and move it
Yeah.
for like before each scene
Oh my
starts. This
gosh.
is the
Yeah.
temperature in the room. Like, this
Yeah. Yeah.
is because yeah, that'll be very
That's gonna
difficult.
be, it's gonna
Oh,
be, yeah. I haven't, as an actor, done a feature film as a lead before. And like
right.
that, holding all that information in your head and
Mm,
knowing where you are that day, like that is such a huge challenge. I can't imagine
wow.
being the person who's in charge of the entire heartbeat of the project as a director. Like that's a lot to keep in your head. And everybody's gonna ask you 10,000 questions every day. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
Oh
lot.
man.
Yeah. It was
Um,
interesting.
so where are you at? Oh, wait, no, Nelly, do you have another question
No, go for
about
it.
the? Okay, great.
Sorry.
So,
This my note
wh-
cards.
for those of you who don't watch us live, we signal each other with little hand gestures that you can't see on the podcast.
And I just
uh,
did them wrong.
no, it's fine. Oh, that's a little insider baseball for you guys. So with the current project that you're working on, where exactly are you at in the development process of your feature, and what's the name, and what
So
can you tell
the
us about it? That's it.
Yeah. So the new project is called Mustang Martha. It is a kind of also a 90s feminist rebellion story, uh, similar to Acid Test, except this woman is in her 40s. She's a single mom. It's based on a true story as well. This one is about a woman in Baytown, Texas, which is about an hour outside of Houston. And she owned an auto body shop in the 90s. And in order to kind of make her shop more visible, she took this old Mustang and painted it hot pink and put flowers in it and like turned it
Oh,
into this kind of
art
sign.
car. Nice.
Yeah.
Basically like an art car.
Yeah.
and the city cited her for violating the junk car ordinance, which was a brand new ordinance at the time that was only enforced by people complaining. So like, there's a bit of a who's
Uh,
out to get Martha
who's
kind of thing.
complaining? Yeah.
And
Who's
so
out to
she
get
sued the
Martha?
city, and it's about this kind of absurd, ridiculous fight over this hot pink flower planter Mustang, whether it's a junk car or not,
Oh my
and the fact
goodness.
that it has like real stakes about, this is her livelihood and
Yeah.
her work, and as a woman in a male dominated industry, like, why won't people just leave her alone and let her do
Yeah.
her job?
It's
So
Texas. Leave me alone.
yeah,
Right?
so
Yeah, right? I'm like shocked. Like
Like
it's
LA,
Texas.
I get
Leave
it.
me alone.
Texas, yeah.
So where are you at
yeah.
in the development process for that one?
So I mean, honestly, we've been developing it for a very long time.
Okay.
When Acid Test was still a short film, when it was in festivals, there was a car insurance guy who had taken some writing courses at Swamp and like knew some of the film people, and he met Martha like just through his work, and he thought, this is the movie, like this is a great story. And so he just reached out to me and asked me if I was interested. And so this was 2018.
Okay.
And so yeah, so it's been a while. So I went back to, especially since it's a true story, I went back to my documentary roots. I did interviews with Martha and her husband and the lawyer who helped her, and the mechanic who painted it pink at the time, who now actually owns the body shop, and she works for
Oh,
him. So it's like this fun little, and it's
Oh.
this like amazing community story, and it's just so much bigger than Acid Test, and it has like over 50 speaking roles and 20
Mm.
locations, and I keep on being like, what is
wow.
wrong with this writer, like why can't you like make it small? But it's just not that story. This is a
Yeah.
Yeah.
story about the town and how it's affecting her, and
Mm-hmm.
I just really believe very strongly that with community, investment, and not just money, but like, making it with Baytown and the
Yeah.
Houston film community that I've been a part of, I really feel like we can tell this story and tell this story well, and I also want to do it within Martha's lifetime, and she's now in her 70s. We've already
Mm-hmm.
lost her husband along the way, and so I kind of, there was a draft out of, a few years ago. We got a Nicholl quarterfinalist selection, and then I got a grant from the city of Houston to do a table read,
Very cool.
and so that was really helpful. We did that as part of a local film festival here, the Houston Cinema Arts Festival, and we got audience feedback for what was working and not working in the script, and then took that script to the Stowe Story Labs and did both the producing and the narrative lab. And so we've workshopped it quite a bit. It's, gotten some different awards and things like that. And so I really feel like the script is ready. And so last November, I started a community awareness event in Baytown. And then in June, we're doing a staged reading of the play for Baytown with
Ooh.
the Baytown Little Theater, and
Awesome.
starting to kind of fundraise in earnest, and hopefully we'll be shooting it in the spring of next year.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You were
So are
right.
you
Go ahead.
do you have like a core team already put together for it? Like do you have your director picked out and
So I
are
will
you
be the
are you
director.
directing it? Are you
All
producing
right.
So
it?
All right.
yeah,
Cool,
so
cool, cool.
I'm always a writer director, or at least a director. And then I found a producer at the end of the year last year. That the strikes hit kind of hard, because like from Acid Test, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I've met all these other filmmakers, and
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
that, I would tell
Mhm.
them about the movie, Mustang Martha, and but then the strikes hit right as I was kind of really doing some of these workshops. And so it was
Yeah.
like we were in these workshops, but we weren't really allowed to pitch to anybody like
Ugh.
officially. And so it was
Yeah.
all very kind of handcuffed. And then
Mhm.
all the producers that I was meeting, they had a slate of films that they were trying to kind of resurrect once the strikes were over, and so
Yeah.
nobody was looking
Mm-hmm.
for new projects. And so, it took a while, but I found a local producer here who, came highly recommended from people that I know here in Houston, and has the same kind of can do bootstrap, spirit that I do, and is also an
Yeah.
educator. She does teaching sets. I always bring students onto my projects, and so it's yeah, so I'm hopeful, just pushing forward.
Yeah. Well, it's
Right.
always so it's you don't think about as like a layperson like how much work it takes just to get to the development process, like the years of writing that go into developing a script. Not to mention then being in development, which can take, especially for indie, it can take years to get all the parts and pieces put together. Even for the big boys, for the studios, it takes them years sometimes, and they end up in development hell because it's just so hard to get everybody coordinated on the same page at the same time. It's a lot, and
You
then
can have
even
a lot
then,
of people, yeah, you can have a lot
yeah,
of people that are interested in the project, but just the schedule's not working out. And so
yeah,
you're hung up on, all right, well, you have to finish that one. Well, then our actor's doing this, and and you want to honor like your first reach outs, but sometimes you can't. And then yeah,
yeah.
it's development. I hate it. Let's just say something. I do not
Nellie's
like the
discovering
development
she
phase.
does not like this part. This is not her favorite part whatsoever.
No, I don't want to play development.
So, is there anything from the development process of acid test, like any lessons or parables that you got doing that, those 2 rounds of development that you're bringing into this next one that you're applying to the development process of this current project?
Yeah, definitely. Um, there with Acid Test, because we had the short film, I already had, kind of a core cast, a core crew. I had, locations, and again, kind of some of those things kind of already in place. And that was really helpful. And kind of similarly with Mustang Martha, because it's based on a true story, um, and these people are still alive, it's like, I'm hoping to kind of tap into some of those resources that are already baked in, from the people, and trying to figure out how to make that work logistically. But the other thing that I've been really trying to kind of rethink, especially as the industry spirals right now, is that the I mean, they always talk about film as like, oh well, it's show business, it's a business and an art, and all this stuff. Um, and but when you think about, even when you look at filmmakers who really make beautiful artistic films, but are also kind of make money as well, not every film is a hit. Like
Mm,
Spielberg hasn't had like, there have been some films that didn't hit,
Yeah.
for him. And so it's I think to me, the longer I'm in this, the more I kind of feel like this is crazy. It's not really a business. It's an art,
It's a lottery and an
it's
art again.
it's a lottery, and every
it's
project is
bad
unique.
business.
Every project is different
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
previous one. So
Yeah.
each one is its own little startup. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I I'm not a good actress. This is why I'm behind the camera, and so I don't feel like I can have a conversation with somebody that's like, yeah, if you invest $100,000, like your ROI is gonna be like 30%,
Mhm.
Right.
and we're gonna sell
Yeah.
this and blah blah blah. And I can't do that. Like
Yeah.
because
Understandable.
all the data right now shows that even the majors are struggling.
Yeah.
That's why they're all
Mhm.
doing, IP, and indie movies are not making their money back. They're just not.
Mm,
And
Right.
so I'm
fair.
trying to kind of rethink how to do it, because as a stubborn artist, I'm like, well, that doesn't mean I can't make the movie. It just means I have to kind of
Which means you're not
rethink
getting
about
paid
how we
back.
do it, right? So with Acid Test, and again, this comes back to my foundation really as a documentary filmmaker, which, even though that wasn't my passion, it's informed so much about my process. most documentary films don't make their money back. I mean, they,
Mhm.
never. And so the idea, I mean, there are a few, but it's like you were talking about the lottery. Like you still need a plan, and buying a lottery ticket isn't a plan. That's like a hope and a prayer. And so I need a plan. I need a plan that I can actually do. And so
Mhm.
with documentaries, they rely on grants, they rely on crowdfunding, they rely on and they rely on fiscal sponsorship, which is a nonprofit that basically you're kind of under their umbrella and people donate money to the nonprofit for your project, and that donation is a tax write-off for those people. So they're not getting a return on investment for donating
Mhm.
$5,000 or $10,000,
Mhm.
but they're getting an immediate tax write-off.
Mhm.
So I felt more comfortable having those conversations, having worked in nonprofits, having worked on documentaries. Like I had had those conversations, and even my thesis film at USC, as an educational institution, they were able to be my fiscal sponsor, and so people donated
Okay.
to USC for my thesis film. So I had already been doing that
Oh.
conversation for a long time, and so it's a form of crowdfunding, but you're targeting people who you would be targeting for basically anything over $500. So it's the
Mhm.
bigger chunks of money. So $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, all of that.
Mhm.
Whereas with crowdfunding, the average contribution is like $75, and most people are
Right.
giving like $10 or $50 or, things
Mhm.
like that. And so
Yeah.
nobody's getting a tax write off of $20. So I was like, I knew we had, again, based on the model that I had built with the short film, I had budgeted out because again, I'm also a producer, so it's like I can do a lot of this stuff myself. And so I had budgeted out, and I was like, we need $50,000 to shoot this. Like based on this model, we only need to raise $50,000, and if I'm looking for people who can give $5,000 or $10,000, I only need 5 to 10 people. So it's a very different math than
Yeah.
I need to raise $50,000 through crowdfunding where everybody's
Mhm.
giving maybe $100. Well, now I can't do math right now, like 500
But
or
yeah,
something.
But
So
yeah,
it becomes a
less
different bite
people.
size. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, very different bite size. And, the economy was slightly different a few years ago. So things are different now.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that the short film helped was, in those 2 years on the festival run, I had met people and they'd seen this work and they believed in it. And so I'd met enough people that could give $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. And
Okay.
so we raised, it was one of those things where I had been kind of like holding out hope for the Hollywood, intervention, as Mark Duplass says, like the cavalry coming to save everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe we'll get the Sundance Lab, maybe we'll get this. And it was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
it just like didn't, I gave myself time to play some of that out. And then I was like, I just need to make this project. Like, I don't want to do the Hollywood 10-year development hell thing. Like,
Mhm.
I know I can make this. I've got actors who are going to age out if we wait too long, and I know enough people that if we do it at this $50,000 bite size kind of range, that I can fund it. I can at least fund production, and then we'll figure out post production
Yeah.
Yeah.
afterwards. And so that is what we did. Like I, as a teacher, I always have to teach a 5-week summer class, and I convinced the chair of my department to let me teach an elective called shooting the feature or something, where students signed up to work as PAs on my film.
There you
So I had a
go.
5-week
All
production
right.
window,
Yeah.
and I got that figured out in December. We got our fiscal sponsorship set up by February. By mid-March, we had $50,000. It was like super
Wow.
fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we shot the film and then started doing, we were trying to figure out again how to raise because we needed some more money for post production. And and we did like a combo of fiscal sponsorship, crowdfunding with Seed and Spark, as well as an event. We threw an event where we kind of invited people to come and have this kind of psychedelic experience.
I was like, drop acid.
And nobody that I know of, there were no drugs handed out, but
Terrible.
some
We'll
people may
host
have been on
bunker
drugs.
parties.
Yeah, that's right. We'll host a bunker party. We'll lock you in a bunker for 5 hours and see how you feel at the end.
Yeah.
So we did kind of a combination of all those things. And so this time around, I'm leaning on, like, again, gave myself the window for like, are we
Yeah.
gonna get a Sundance Lab? You know, we got the Nicholl quarterfinalist, and like one person reached out, but like, you know, it didn't amount to anything. We got a lab, but you know, a couple of labs with the Stowe story, but it was during the strike, so we couldn't really, you know, it was just
Oh,
like
rough. Yeah.
things have just been a little bit, and it's a much bigger project again.
Mm-hmm.
Our baseline budget is closer to $1 million, so it's just a
Okay.
much bigger, you
Mm.
know, thing. And so we're trying to kind of figure it out. And so my producer Joy has some investment, you know, ties and things like that. But at the same time, we both feel very comfortable in this kind of bootstrap, keep it low, you know. So we're trying to figure out what the $250,000 version of this looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
the still go the fiscal sponsorship route, because we both feel like that is a more, again, ethical way to fundraise, because nobody's getting an ROI on on films right
Right.
now, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and um and gives us control, because at the end of the day with Acid Test, because we got distribution, we got a small streaming deal. Like, the thing with fiscal sponsorship is I have no investors to pay back, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
So all money is profit, essentially. You know,
It's
even
profit
though
that
it's
goes
small, it's,
into the next one.
and it goes
Yeah.
into, you know. So
Profit.
that's
Right.
kind of the idea, is to try and maintain control, tap into community resources,
Yeah.
use the fiscal
Yeah.
sponsorship to try and
Yeah.
partner with companies and corporations that have community funds. And so that's where these kind of community events have come up, where, you know, we're trying to get people excited about this project, feel some kind of agency
Yeah.
in telling the story about their hometown, and and also boost, just again be part of highlighting Texas filmmaking. We just passed a major tax incentive package, which, if we do the 250,000 version, it's not gonna qualify for tax incentives, but it
Right.
still is such a
Yeah.
big boost to the
Mm-hmm.
economy and the creative economy, that
Mm-hmm.
you can make films here in Texas. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
We
Like,
were looking at Texas to try to film, turns out.
we were.
Because we've gone to a lot of festivals out there. We used to do Hill Country, which no long which just closed down. Waco Independent, which was Deep in the Heart, but it just changed its name to Waco Independent. And a couple other ones. But so we've wanted to film out there. We've got so many friends in
Mm-hmm.
the film industry, but
Yeah.
again, you know, the incentive not kicking in until is it 500,000 that one kicks in?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And so at that point, we're like, well, I mean, it's still cheaper than filming in LA, but
Right. Yeah. It's
but
cheaper,
you know,
but
you're
is there
crewing up and
anywhere else
everything.
better?
So yeah,
Yeah.
we're in the where can we find a free space to film?
Yeah.
Because
That's where we're at.
that's gonna be the big motivator.
yeah,
Yeah. No joke.
totally.
No joke. As like a boring logistical question, as a producer, uh, what kind of tools are you using to manage like the accounting? Like, are you just making an Excel doc? Is there a program I should know about? Like, we're right there where I'm like, I need a scheduling software. What are you using?
Right. Well, I mean, the industry standard is Movie Magic.
Bleh. Sorry.
So, you know,
Emotional
and I
response.
think Studio Binder has a free version of
Mm-hmm.
something similar. Personally, I do use Excel, which, again, as a part of it is because, as a teacher, especially at a community college, like, we try as much as we can to teach things that the students will have access to even once they leave
Mm,
school,
Yeah.
yeah.
so it's
Smart.
like movie magic is just so expensive that it's like, and even the Adobe Cloud, it's like we've
Mm-hmm.
moved towards teaching DaVinci Resolve because the editing software is all free,
Smart.
and it's the
Yeah, we're
top grade
smart.
color grader, so it's like, and it also has a great sound program, so for like post production you can do all of that with free software.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Excel, or numbers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in a corporate job for 10 years, and where my life was Excel. So, like, I know Excel very, very well, and I know how to not, and I know how to make it work for me. The
Yeah.
problem is that Excel is not all that friendly. So, like, teaching it to people who are not very computer savvy or don't like Excel at all is hard, but I'm kind of like, but it's free. And so I
Yeah.
try and like give them templates,
Yeah.
and I'm like, just don't screw up. Do not touch the formula field. Like, don't touch it. Like, just leave it alone. But don't forget to add this stuff here. And
Yeah.
that's one of the
Oh
things that
man.
Movie
Yeah.
Magic or Studio Binder, whatever, it's like they've got the template and you
Yeah.
can't mess anything up. So it's nice. But I also like to have, again, control
Mm-hmm.
over.
Customization
And
and
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so like, especially when I'm breaking down a script and scheduling it, for me, Excel is so easy. I mean, it takes a long
Okay.
time to set it up.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. You can't just like input the script and have it
Mm-hmm.
magically read it. And you know, I do feel stupid for not doing that. But it at the same time, I can put extra information that I need to flag. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so on acid test, she
Yeah.
cuts her hair off in the middle of the movie, and but the actress didn't want to cut her hair, and that would also like change our production schedule because
Yeah.
we'd have to like film everything pre-haircut, and then
mm-hmm.
so literally like we had to track where the wig was,
Where the
and
wig should
like
be.
like you were talking about, with we're shooting all the scenes in the living room here, it's like we'd have to like toggle back and forth, and that was a makeup and hair adjustment. So sometimes we'd like start out with wig
Mm,
and then end without wig, or sometimes we'd start
Mm-hmm.
no wig, go to wig, and then go back to no wig. It was just like,
Yeah.
so some of those like things that we needed to track, it was just easier for me to have like my own column where I could like track it
yeah.
and all that stuff.
That's
So, you know.
it's better than my system. When we did social anxiety, we had to she's changing dresses because the reality changes so often, but it's all in the exact same place.
Right.
And I just did it in a notebook. Like not an app called Notebook. No, a
No, no, no.
physical
A
notebook.
physical notebook, all handwritten in
No, I love it.
code that only Natalie understood.
That only I understood. And I like flipped through. I'm like, no, she's
Okay,
wearing the
guys.
pink dress with the yeah.
No, yeah,
All right,
do.
team. Here's what's going
All
on.
right, team.
Yeah.
This is what's
Yeah.
happening.
I love it.
All right,
Oh,
we're gonna
Jenny,
have to start. Yeah, we're gonna have to start wrapping. I have one more question though before we move to the wrap. You've got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I've just been starting to be, I mean, obviously social media is
Mm-hmm.
a way to audience build, and you guys have been doing it for years, which is inspiring and amazing. I've literally just started this thing, I don't know, a few months ago, and was
Okay.
like, I'm just gonna start doing filmmaker tips every week and just hold myself accountable. Production quality is not great, I'm just doing it over
Just
Zoom.
start.
I'm
No, just
trying stuff
start.
out, but I'm putting stuff out there, trying different things, and then also putting out new, whatever new content. I mean, I'm not a prolific filmmaker. I tend to kind of focus on a big project and like see it
Mm-hmm.
through. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got my trailers and stuff. I'm working on my directing reel right now, and I've started interviewing some directors, and so I'm just trying to be helpful and transparent, and
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll link that. I
Definitely.
think just in searching your name and looking at IMDb, I think it popped up recently. And so I
Mhm.
think we subscribed. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
Natalie
No,
and
we
Tara
did. Oh, we
We
subscribed.
did. Yeah.
immediately
We did.
subscribed. We went, boom, subscribe.
Thank you.
Immediately.
Thank
Someone else is
you.
putting out content. We want to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us. I feel like we're probably going to have you back on at some point, especially when we start getting into the latter part of our own arc, which is the distribution portion. Because Lord, there's so much to learn there, and it sounds like you've already gotten well past that hump. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for
Yeah.
giving us all your information. Really, really appreciate it. We got you on YouTube. Are you in the Instagram as well?
Yeah,
People can
Jenny
connect you there.
Waldo, Jenny with a Y.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we'll put
Mhm.
all those links for you guys
Yeah.
below on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, all
And the
that
YouTubes.
jazz,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
YouTube,
Awesome.
especially the YouTubes. All right. Thank you so,
Thank you so
so
much.
much,
Good luck
Jenny.
on your project. I'm excited to
Oh
see you
man,
guys.
yeah,
Jenny,
yeah.
before you exit, I have had
Oh,
someone ask in the comments section, is the acid test script available to read? This is the one that got the, was it Nicholl? I don't know
The
this award.
Mustang Martha got the Nicholl. Acid
yeah.
Test
Oh, okay.
is obviously the script that I produced. I've been thinking about publishing the script, but haven't actually. So it
Okay,
is
well
not
then
currently available, but
they
you can
can,
watch the movie. It's on Tubi, it's on Amazon, it's on iTunes.
Nice.
You know,
there you
it's
go.
all
And
the
they can
All the
follow
places.
you
places.
So
on
yeah,
Jenny
so you
Waldo.
can
So
watch
then
it and then tell me what you think about the script.
there you
Sweet.
go. All right,
Excellent.
great. Just wanted to get to that
Awesome.
before we let you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. All
Thank you.
right.
All right.
All
I'll
right,
be
guys.
watching
That's
you
our
guys.
That's a
oh,
wrap on
thanks.
Jenny.
That's a wrap
Yeah.
on Jenny. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Sweet potato.
Oh, I always learn
Wow,
so
that was a
much.
lot of information.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so much information. Like that was amazing. Again, I love our interview episodes. They are my favorite. Not because I don't have to talk as much, but also because I learned a lot. So I hope you
Yeah.
guys all learned a lot as well. All right. Next week, we're going to be diving into the core team. Natalie kind of touched on this earlier, and the core team being like the initial, your director, your first team producer, maybe a DP, because like that's also right where we're at. We just kind of got our
Mhm.
core team signed on, so we want to really dive into that and explore what that means and who is important to bring on at what point.
When you bring them on, and I think maybe even who brings them on,
Who,
because I
who?
think that is an
Oh,
interesting, like,
that
you
is,
know,
uh-huh.
for us, yeah, for us, that's different than I think for other people as well,
Yeah.
because we're writers, actors, and
hmm
producers. So,
Yeah, and we're
anyway,
bossy. We're
and we're
also very
bossy.
bossy, and we're like, oh no, we already have somebody. But like
Yeah,
the director, like, do you have a DP that you would like to bring on? Like, it's a
because
delicate
we do if you
conversation.
don't.
Yeah, because we got several. We got a whole team of people we like and who know how to make my face look good. Anyways, all right, and that brings me to my favorite part of the show, which is the Abby Singer shot. If you're new here, the Abby Singer shot is the moment that we take a step aside. Natalie brings in some info. It is our vocabulary of the day. If you don't know, the Abby Singer shot is actually the second to last shot, so this is the second last shot of the show today. All right, Natalie,
hmm
what you got for us today?
Okay, your Abby Singer word of the day brought to you by Studio Binder and Natalie's own interpretation of things. And now this is a word that I think we know, motif. I think people know
I think
motif,
I
but do
know
they
that
actually
word.
know what it
I don't think I
means?
actually do.
I know, right? So it's a repetitive. I can't read my own handwriting. What does that even say? Oh, there, that says narrative. A repetitive narrative element that supports the theme of the story. So that can be an item, a sound, dialogue. So it could be like repetitive dialogue, can be repetitive
Oh.
music, can be colors, symbols that you see again and again.
hmm
Big
hmm
obvious one is the music in 007.
Okay. Yeah.
So that dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun
Yeah.
dun dun. Like anytime that music starts, you know Bond is about to do Bond shit. So like
You know Bond's about to do Bond shit. Can
so
we get a shirt with that on there?
right.
That's great.
So it's different than your theme, but it supports your
Okay.
theme. So your theme is like the central thesis, what the story should
hmm
mean to your film, and the motif is the elements that support and inform that theme. So the theme of Bond being Bond's a badass, and then when
Right.
that music
Okay.
starts, you know Bond's about to do Bond
So
things.
like the dun dun for Jaws? Is that a motif?
Probably
Yeah.
is. I mean, I'm not an
Uh,
expert on motif, but
maybe sound off in the comments below. What about the red in Schindler's List? That's the next thing that came to mind. Like there's always like the red thing. I haven't
I
seen that movie
don't
in
know because I
so
can't
long.
remember.
So
No, the only thing I know about the red in Schindler's List was the coat, but it'd have to be something
okay.
where it's like showing significance.
Yeah, I feel
So
like it did
it's
it a
not
couple of
just
times. I could be wrong.
repetitive. That could be just
hmm
color scheme. It could be. So this one is one that's not on the list, but I had recently heard something about this, and now you have to check me on this. But in the movie The Departed,
Mm-hmm.
Every character that ever dies in it has an X over them at some point in time. So they use it like so,
Oh.
and it harkens back to some older mob movie, which I don't know which one it was, but
Okay.
I was watching, it was some clip that popped up in my Instagram weeks ago, and so then this was
Yeah.
pertaining. But if as they walk through, it showed visual after visual after visual of someone, like the windows had X's over them, and the person was now standing in front of it having a conversation, and you're like, gonna die. Now, basically, everybody dies in that anyway. So, but so it's going to inform how you feel about the thing too. So like that is,
Okay. Yeah.
um, and then I did there was a whole article about it, and I read about how to build a motif, because we don't really do this. I was to say,
Mm-hmm.
we have repetitive things, but
We
I
do
don't know that they
repetitive, but that's
necessarily
it comes out
have
of
you
jokes. Yeah, like we want
right.
the joke
Yeah, I don't know
repetition.
that
Well,
it's there necessarily. I'll kind of, I want to look into it, but it's actually
okay.
more not necessarily in the writing process. It is
Okay.
so when you do it as the director, you're going to establish what your theme is. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
am anti-establishing themes, so that might be why. Two, you're going to identify the motifs with the script breakdown. So you're going to do a scene elements breakdown, and then why they exist. So this was an interesting one. Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
Silence of the Lambs, the director wanted, and never got this, but okay. The director wanted people to understand that the disease was unique to America, that this violence is unique. It's the violence that they were showing in the movie of Silence of the Lambs
Mm-hmm.
was unique to America. So if you watch this film, and I want to do it again now, there is Americana everywhere, including Buffalo Bill's name.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, and there's different people's names throughout it are little hints at Americana.
Uh-huh.
However, also, and that's there's American flags everywhere. Like I saw screen grabs of American flags everywhere. There's an
Mm-hmm.
American flag draped over a car. There's instead, but the
Oh.
director identified this moment in a script where it was, here is a tarp. Let's replace that with an American flag. Here is a this. And so then your
Oh.
next
Oh,
step
that's
is to
interesting.
share that information with your DP, with your
Mm-hmm.
production designer, with your cinematographer, with your costumer. So if, you want something to visualize like childhood or something like that, then
Yeah.
everyone needs to have those moments so that they can then go piece them into your set.
Yeah. So they can figure
Um,
it out as well. They can play the
yeah, and
game
then
with you.
yeah, and I was just like, this is
That's
pretty
interesting.
fascinating, I actually think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, not the same, but kind of in the same way that you and I are always trying to hide pineapples and things. Like,
Hmm.
we do tell some people, like, we like to hide pineapples, and then they'll play the game with us and, like, hide, look, I found this pineapple, whatever. Like, oh, I love it. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that like that in some ways is like whimsical. Like, like if
Whimsical,
our goal is
not a
to
motif.
make everyone understand whimsy, like then just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
throw splashes of whimsy everywhere. But that's very loose. That's not your
That's
motif.
very
That's
loose.
just
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
vibe.
not the quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
Anyway,
vibe.
I thought
Vibe
it was
check.
pretty cool.
I love that. I'm gonna confess,
Yeah.
I did not know what motif meant then. I was definitely on the wrong side of the meaning of that word. That's awesome. Okay, before we get
Yeah.
out of here, I'm going to do a little reminder about that PayPal and that super chat situation. Any PayPal, any super chat we get between now and the closeout of this movie, this podcast we're doing is all going to be funneled straight to Turns Out. Thank you in advance and in post to everybody who's already given super chats and PayPals. It means so much. It really does help make this movie happen. And we're going to have other ways coming up in the near future for helping us make it happen. And sometimes that's just sharing this show. So share the show with all your friends, especially your filmmaker friends. It helps us get the word out. All right, if you are listening to this as a podcast, did you know that we do it as a live stream on Wednesday mornings? If you're watching this in the post action later on YouTube, this is a podcast, and you can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts. We're really working to get the podcast numbers up. So if you could go over to the podcast space and like subscribe, it would really, really mean a lot to us. We want to build the podcast part of this. That is our existing IP. Lord.
I don't even know what an IP is. All right.
belatedly, Ben Raythick, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate you. You are always so here for us. Ben, you rock. Thank you. Longtime supporter. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week. We, as always, have enjoyed making this podcast, and thank you for being a podcast that teaches us things, because, man, we wouldn't do our homework without it. All right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Ba-da! We are back. Thanks, Ben. Just trying to shove it in there at the end. Woo!
Smooth.
Intellectual property, IP. Everybody wants intellectual property that already exists. So like a book. If you already have a book out there, that's what. Yeah. So like the big thing people are doing now is like, oh, I see your feature film that you've written, but could you go write this into a book first, get it published, and then have it as an existing IP, and then we'll make it into a movie, which is just absolute madness. But that's what they want. They want existing IP.
No, thank you.
Annoying. Yeah. No, thank you. Welcome to the Credit Cookie, guys. Yeah. Welcome to the Credit Cookie, guys. You who hang out after the credits to chit chat directly. If you've never hung out after, or you're watching this after the fact, hang to the very end and we directly talk to you guys. It is the most fun to talk to you directly. Someone
you guys
said
want to
like
see my plants?
Oh. I think she's excited, everybody. Yes. Wait. First, Mug of the Week. I want to see Mug of the Week.
It's not that exciting.
And then we'll slide. Okay.
Well, it has a plate, though. I didn't use the plate because I didn't want to make too much noise during the
that's
show.
so cute. So those of you who don't know this, for those of you who are not in the know, Natalie has her one of her many side hustles is making candles out of teacups and mugs. And it's called the business is called I Made This, and I Made This is branching out into new products. A new product line is coming to I Made This spring, and now I Made This plants.
Yeah, I made this now. Yeah, which is and the big excitement part of that is that it means that I get to then branch out and do the other ones, like the paint the shoes and the
Yeah.
And I've been each of these like little side projects, I've been collecting pieces along the way. So like there's frames that are waiting to be made into something else.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway, there have been pictures sitting around
pictures,
my house,
as in like a picture that you pour from,
like this. So Tara propagated all these photos. Hold on, she sent them to me. This one's not doing all that great. Like a whole Tupperware full of these little guys. He'll be fine. He's going to survive.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
They were at this point where if I did not move them into something else yet, they were going to just either break out of the thing or die. One of the two. Anyway, I have 12 of these. 12, and then there's still another 8. Everybody's almost all but 2 survived so far, Tara. Like
that's amazing. That's really
the
good.
Ones you brought, I took very good care of them.
Good job. Yeah, that's good.
Some of them are little cutesy ones.
Just imagine as the leaves fill in and they just fill up the whole top of the teapot and then start spilling out. It's a picture, so they spill out the picture part like water. I'm so excited. It's going to be so cute. I'm into it.
As long as I do them right so that they go the right direction.
Yeah. Ben says I'm a plant dealer. Kind of, yeah. I am, like, lately, the conversations I've been having with people about gardening and planting and all that stuff, I've been like, oh, yeah. No, just get in there. You got to kill a couple of plants. It's going to be fine. You'll be good. Just plant them and see what happens. Like, I am the worst influence for plant. Like, no, don't just buy one. Buy several. Like, let's all plant the plants.
It's also funny, though, because all of my other plants are dead. So
I know. Well, that's like, my fault. That's plant getting.
It was they you know what, I had given up on the Christmas cactus, but I just pulled away all the dead, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna keep watering it and see if it sprouts back. We'll just see
what happens.
I'll give it.
No, I owe you like 6 plants at this point. I owe you like a couple cryptis cactuses. I owe you some T-Rex looking guys, those guys with the big root knobby knobbies. Yeah, I owe you plants.
So Nemo, who hasn't sprouted against or hasn't bloomed since, like I did the scratch thing and there's like a lot of juice in there. Like that guy
Oh,
is full of
good.
water. So
Okay.
he's very
Yeah.
healthy. He just hasn't decided that
He's
he
just
wants to bloom
dormant.
again. So
Yeah, yeah,
he's,
yeah.
yeah, I think
It
he's
might
still
be like
trying to figure it out.
like the one thing I noticed about the one that I almost killed that's the exact same varietal that got in the same plant getting that year. I just shoved him in the backyard and like he went dormant for a long time. I kept watering him.
Hmm.
And then finally this spring, because of the sun, he's just outside with the sun. He's gone nuts out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like he just finally, so I bet you once you start getting him sun and he's had some time to like regroup, he just kind of
Well,
goes,
he was out in the sun all last summer. I mean, all
okay,
last,
yeah,
he just,
that was mine.
yeah. Yeah, no, he's back outside. I don't know. We'll see. I found out
Yeah.
with those plants, those are fucus. I'm serious. Like it's like a,
Ficus. Yeah, you got it.
no, it's not ficus. It's not ficus.
No,
It's
it's
with a
fucus,
U.
the F-U.
It's you with a U.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and there's another word, and now I've forgotten what the other word is, but
Ficus aurelius manilius.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
they only ever sprout from one spot on them. Like there's the one nub that
Okay.
is where we're always, so like that little space is dead.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it will stay dead. It just needs
Oh,
that little space needs to come back to life.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got this
It's probably
when you come
fucus.
town to visit for Dances with Films, I'll send you home with some kiki paste, something I got off the internet that's supposed to like you put it on those nubs and it's like got a
Oh,
hormone in it that's supposed to like help things. Some of my plants it's worked and some it hasn't. Like I got it
yeah,
from my
do it.
rubber tree that also went down during plant getting and it's finally doing better. It took a long time to get the rubber tree back in order. It's doing
Hmm.
better, but it's only sprouting a lot of leaves from the very top and I want like a couple more below. And so I bought it for
Hmm.
that. It hasn't worked on that plant, but everything else, the
Hmm.
kiki paste has gone really great and like helped it sprout new bits. So maybe that'll help. I don't know. Who
Hmm.
knows? Plant magic. David
Plant
ficus. Yeah,
magic.
it's a David ficus plant. Is this variety name?
Yeah, it's something. I don't remember.
Shannon
Um,
West, KY jelly. Is that a thing I should know? Is that like a little
no,
trick?
she's making fun of you because you said you're gonna rub
Oh.
it on its nodes to help it grow.
Oh, the geek base. That's what they say to do. Rub it on the nose. That's literally, or actually, you pierce the flesh with like a little pin and then like rub it in or something like that, so that like it helps it. The hormones in the kiki
Yeah,
paste
all of this has an
help it.
A for being a porno.
Oh no, I
You just
get
don't
you.
hear
I hear you. But no, no,
it.
I hear it. I just think that that's your problem, not mine.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I hear it. There's just no other way to describe that.
yeah.
Sweet. Okay, wait. We do have a lot of film fun stuff to catch up on.
Uh-huh. But we have to keep it brief because I have to do audio in the
Brief.
next 2 hours.
Oh yeah. Briefly, let's cover real quick because there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. Okay, so Obit. Did we cover Obit getting into dances with films the last time we were with
I
you
don't
guys?
know.
I don't think so. Okay,
I don't
so
think so.
Obit, the one that Natalie is the lead in, is in Dances with Films, which is one of the bigger festivals here in Los Angeles. So that got in, which is really, really exciting. Um, uh, my film that I'm in, I'm a lead in, Death is the Favor. There's so many films right now. Got into the Atlanta Shorts Fest. So we both have festivals for things that we were just actors in coming out. We're gonna have more announcements coming up soon. We're on a NDA clause for the rest of stuff, but we have like lots of good and exciting news coming up. It's getting fun. Natalie and I had to have a logistical schedule conversation because so much is happening at once that we're just
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah.
yeah, there's like another
Like,
festival that I'm in, but we're in, everything is all at one
there's
time.
a lot of festival stuff coming up, hopefully, which we thought was going
So
to hit
good.
last year
Yeah,
because these projects all were filmed previously,
last year.
and then they
Yeah.
just took a long time to, but we
Well,
knew they were all going to hit at the same time. So,
yeah. Much like Jenny's project, they took a long time to get everything through post. Even these short
mm-hmm.
films took a long time to get through post.
Yeah.
And so now everything is kind of happening at once. So stay tuned. Keep checking out the Instagram. We're going to have like opportunities and places, and we're going flying places and getting on planes and stuff like that for film festivals and such. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff. All right. Now
Ooh,
we're going
and
to
we
go.
won't tell you
Oh,
where or what, but we may have another festival episode. We have a
oh,
episode we
yeah.
might make.
That's
So
part of the
there may
NDA
be
clause we're
another.
under right now.
We won't call it a Natalientara try stuff, but
No.
but But,
We've
and Natalie and Tara go to a festival stuff.
we've discussed retailoring the festival adventures into a new series. So, but we can't tell you which one yet because
No. So
secrets.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We're very excited. All right, we're gonna go so Natalie can go do her homework before she has to go to work because that is our life right now. Oh, and I have to go to work. We're doing a bar clean
juggle
today.
all
Okay, I
things.
gotta go.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
all right.
everybody.
All right, guys. Bye. Thank you so much.